Okay, some of the people who are currently in the market. Okay, perfect. Dinara, come join us. I'm gonna sit, please. So, what? What did you say? Okay. Wait. Stop the share. You guys can see, right? So today you had interview, right? The reason I'm bringing this up right now is because what we're gonna study, look, sprint agile ceremonies. What was the question for you today during interview?
How it looks like your sprint
Okay,
environment.
okay. Online, did you guys hear?
Yes.
All right. So this is Dinara. She had this is D. She had interview today where the interviewer was asking do you attend sprint ceremonies and what kind of sprint ceremonies do you have basically. So for that question, let me see, how do I no no blurring, right? Okay, so how do we answer that question, Dinara? Go ahead, help us. Why?
I didn't answer it by myself.
No, you did answer, right? But I mean, you know the answer, right?
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
But right now I'm
What? Under pressure?
under pressure.
Losing your mind?
No, don't say anymore.
Losing your mind?
I stopped already.
Good, don't say that, huh? So basically, Dinara had interview today, and they asked her this question of what are sprint ceremonies? What are do you follow? So first of all, they said, do you follow Scrum or Agile, right?
Yeah.
And we said yes. And then he had a follow-up questions. Do you guys have like ceremonies, sprint ceremonies, right?
Yeah.
And we said yes, but how should we answer?
First, we follow the sprint ceremony, and
we follow the Agile Scrum methodology, and we do have sprint ceremonies such as, and then what?
grooming meeting, stand-ups, planning meeting, retrospectives, what else?
Louder, I think they cannot hear you.
So those.
Right? All these questions. Okay, and then what else? And then what else should we, like, what do you think they want to hear when they ask you this kind of question?
Details, more detailed, and how it looks like during the during the grooming meeting, what we're discussing about, which kind of stories do we have, which kind of questions do we need to ask, and before grooming meeting, what we need to do, or even like.
So basically, sprint ceremony, well, usually when they ask this kind of question during interview, they say, do you follow Agile? Do you guys have sprints? What does your methodology look like? And we say Agile, Scrum methodology. Okay. How about sprint ceremonies? What kind of meetings or ceremonies do you have? And we go with, we've got backlog refinement, which is sprint grooming. The same thing, backlog refinement or sprint grooming, it's the same thing. And then we have sprint planning. I'm gonna show them, it's just I wanted to give this, right? Sprint planning, and then we got daily or Scrum stand-up meetings, right, where we provide update. And then we have sprint review, or sprint demo, where developers or testers will get to demo their work, demonstrate, do presentation in front of the team. Hey, this is what I have accomplished. This is how much we covered. These are the new features that we are introducing to the usually product or business team. And then we have retrospective meetings where we talk about sprint, how it went, what went well, what went bad, what should we improve, right? Given our past sprint. Yeah. So after this question, most of the time, like 95% of the time, I can guarantee you that they will ask as a follow-up question. So as a QA engineer or quality assurance engineer or quality or QA automation engineer or as an SDET or QA analyst, how do you contribute to the agile or to these meetings, the ceremonies? How do you contribute? Most of the time they ask this question. So how do you contribute?
I'm not able to answer for that.
Why?
No, I'm pretty tired.
Yes, please do.
I contribute in sprint ceremony, writing test case, test execution, um, making unit testing, integration testing,
Mhm.
and retesting, regression testing. I also make bug. What's called? Yeah, debug.
Debug.
Yeah, debugging.
Okay.
And I also contribute with my team, with my QA management team, have to write test plan, what to include, what to not to include.
Mhm.
That's my role.
As a QA
Yeah,
engineer.
as a QA.
What about during sprint grooming or backlog refinement? How do you contribute as a QA engineer?
What's the backlog refine?
Sprint grooming.
Sprint grooming. It's we have a every day 15 minutes of sprint grooming. Yeah.
Every what?
Every day.
Sprint grooming?
Yeah.
No.
No.
That's your stand-up meeting.
Oh yeah.
Sprint grooming. What is sprint grooming? I'm glad Ipo is not here.
Yeah. But the user story will be the it will be product manager and product owner will be define the user story. We will consider write test cases.
Yes,
and
but
test plan.
okay, let's go over this very quickly, yeah, today. Or you want to try to answer? Thank you, Inja. That was good. As a QA engineer, your role, the way you described how you contribute as a QA engineer, that's correct. But as far as how do we contribute during the sprint, we have to go over this, okay? Let's look at the documentation first. Let me share the screen and all right. Stand up, sprint review, retrospective. Where's sprint grooming?
Assurance process. It's the first.
Yeah, I see, but no. We need to include that. Sprint agile ceremonies. Yeah, it has to. We have to have sprint grooming. Okay, so sprint grooming is. I'll call back. Go back. Okay. Sprint, grooming, backlog, refinement. We're gonna start with this one. But before that, the new batch, you guys have not studied sprints yet, right? What is sprint? Or you have studied? You did?
Yes, we did.
We did the grooming meeting also. Here is a picture showing what's the grooming meeting, all of stuff.
Oh, so you have covered grooming meetings. Then why you're not able to answer? Okay. Who? Maybe online. Yeah, guys, let's hear what you guys have to say. Gul Khair, do you want not Gul Khair, no. We have Elnura, are you able to talk?
Hi, sorry, I can, but I know about sprint.
Uh-huh.
Sorry, but do you hear the voices of my kids?
Yeah, it's okay. Thank you. Ulan, do you want to take a shot at it?
Yes, but
Hey.
could you repeat Bahar's question?
Yeah, what is sprint? What is a sprint?
Sprint?
Mhm.
Sprint is a process of developing life cycle, software developing life cycle.
Okay. What are different sprint ceremonies that you know?
It's sprint ceremonies, it's a sprint planning, the stand-ups, and the sprint review, and retrospective is a crucial part of the sprint.
Okay. Good, very good. What do you guys discuss during sprint retrospective?
It's usually discussed about what should be improved, what kind of mistakes the developing and the QA team faced during the sprint, and what kind of what should they improve and change during the next sprint.
Nice. Okay. And during sprint planning, how do you contribute as a QA engineer?
During the what?
Sprint planning?
Sprint planning?
Yes.
So QA should be involved to the discussing, and they should understand the sprint, the goal, and the all requirements. QA should ask the important question from the product owners or the Scrum Master, and QA should
one comment. You are doing great, but not QA should, right? QA should no. I usually ask questions to product owners during sprint planning. I most of the time get clarifications from the product team if I don't understand something. I work with developers on planning.
Okay.
Yeah, right?
So from my side, right? If I QA.
Exactly. Yes,
Okay.
you are a professional.
Okay.
You need to explain it from your perspective.
Okay. I need to be involved in this sprint planning process, and I'm usually asked the product owner and Scrum Master all my necessary questions regarding the software lifecycle development process, and as well I need to review the sprint backlog, and I can share.
I usually I do.
Yeah,
I review.
Yeah, I usually share my opinion about what kind of test case we can utilize during the process.
Nice, very good. So if you answer like this during interview, man, you killed it, you know? That was really, really, really good. And when I say really good, after 700 interviews, I think it's very good.
Yeah,
that was
but it's just basic things, right? It's definition and
No.
main functions.
99% of you will get asked this question. Tell me
Hmm.
about your sprint ceremonies. 99% of you, not 100, because there are some occasions where they might not ask. 99% of the time they will ask this question. Could you, today at your interview, as his interview, Christina gets asked this so many times, and
And you
recruiters,
mentioned
they ask this question a lot. And just from the way you answer to this question, you might fail the interview too. You're like, yeah, we have ceremonies. They ask you, hey, could you tell me like what kind of ceremonies or sprint ceremonies do you guys have? What kind of meetings do you usually have? No, talk. Right? Today you, right? Am I right or wrong? Yeah. So we gotta talk right away. Yes, we follow the Agile's methodology, and we do have the sprint ceremonies such as sprint grooming, which is also backlog refinement. Sprint grooming, backlog refinement is the same thing. We've got sprint planning, daily stand-ups, retrospective demo. And as a QA, you don't have to wait for them to ask you, how do you contribute? What is your role in these meetings? They usually do. 90% of the time they will ask as a follow-up question, what do you do during these meetings as a QA engineer? From quality perspective, what is your role? Well, as a QA engineer, during backlog refinement or sprint grooming meetings, I ask questions about the requirements, because during sprint grooming, they will open the story. Yeah. For example, here, let me open new, and I'll switch. Yes. So this guy right here, and let me go to backlog. So these are backlog items that are not in the sprint yet. Okay, you see how many stories that we have? Potential for next sprint, not next sprint, but next sprint. And during backlog right now, this is our sprint 1.8.1. It is from November 7th to November 21st. How many weeks is that? 2 weeks. Yeah, sprints are 2 weeks. And during this 2 weeks, we deliver requirements. I mean, there's a requirement from the business product, and as a development team, we work on delivering them. How? We, the developers deliver it, and then QAs tested, and then after product team sign off means basically they approve it, they confirm it, they say, okay, this is good to go. Then we ship it to production, to the end customers. But these sprint, the stories, these are called requirements in our sprint, because before they were in the backlog. You see, this is called backlog, right? This is backlog. Check that, don't worry about that. So see, these are requirement stories that the business, the design, the product team comes up with. The stakeholders say, hey, I want this, I want this, I want this, right? So then what we do, we, as a development team, we bring them into our sprint and we work on delivering them. We try to deliver them, right? But before bringing that into the sprint, during backlog refinement, what does refinement mean? Уточнение. We get the story from the backlog, the requirement. Story means requirement, okay? We get these stories from the backlog, and we open each one at a time, for example, like this, yeah? And we discuss it with the team. уточнение, усовершенствование, обработка. Yeah. So we ask, so product team, they have this description of the requirement. Hey, blah, blah, blah. We want this kind of changes on the application, the website. We want to add this kind of cool new features and things, right? But we don't understand. The development team doesn't understand. And we ask questions. Hey, so when you want this cool feature to be thrown for users, how do you want it to look like? You want it to be colorful? Sure. When you say colorful, clarify, because there's how many colors? Probably 1,000 different colors, right? So what development does is they ask questions. What specific colors do you mean? Clarify. Clarify means уточнять, right? Уточнить. Same thing. Refine. Yeah. Clarify. Tell me more, right? Basically. So during backlog refinement meetings, we pick up a requirement from the backlog and we refine it. We ask questions on how do we deliver, and then development asked, okay, how many colors? Let's say like when you launch the website, let me see one of the stories that animation, fireworks effects on the web page. You see, look, right? Fireworks, right? And or does this move? No. There you go. You see? How do I see it in full screen? I cannot, huh? Okay. So there's let's say our team said, hey, when customer, goes to our web page, we want to show like after successful completion of onboarding. Let's say our company, we do what? Sign up, register people to universities, colleges, correct? That's my company. And let's say the user successfully signed up or registered to certain college, Illinois Tech University, for example. And at the end, we want to show this kind of fireworks. Woo, hey, like maybe some claps, right? You have successfully completed your registration. Congratulations, right? And let's say this is a story. When user signs up to school, given user has signed up to certain school, when user clicks on the final submit button after successful completion, then fireworks display on the web page like this. But developer is gonna ask, hey, like how many, like what, like when you say fireworks, is it like how many fireworks do you want, right? What should it look like? Does it go from top to bottom, from the sides, or from bottom to up, right? Now, this is where we refine the requirement. Because let's say the product had that kind of thing in mind, right? We want, like, they want the whole page to be covered in like fireworks, but developer created something like this, only 3 fireworks. Yeah, and they're like this kind of small effects only. And then the stakeholders, they're not happy because it was not clarified. So whose fault is it? It's everyone's fault. The development team most of the time, because they need to ask questions in order to deliver the job properly. And for that, they can ask, for example, how many fireworks you want? Number one. Oh, good question. You know what? We want the fireworks to be popped up from the bottom, like 10 from 10 different locations. Okay. What are the colors? There's no limit. You can use any of the open source firework libraries available for the web pages. Just show us a couple options and we'll pick one. Or they might say that, or they might find some examples and send it to, give it to the developer. Yeah, that's one of the options. Okay, and what other questions would you guys ask?
The timing, how long?
What for how long? Good, very good question. What was your question?
So the size, the form, and
The form,
yeah.
yeah? After each firework explodes, how big does it have to cover? How much space does it have to cover on the website, right? Good. What else? What color on the back side, meaning on the main page? Do you want it to be dimmed or keep the same color, whatever it is, and just show the fireworks? Another good question.
Time of it, how it's
The star must be shown somewhere and it can be clickable or not.
Is it clickable or not? Another good question. Meaning the focus is right now after submission, fireworks started showing on your web page. If the timing, let's say, is unlimited until you, let's say they show this close button on the top right corner of the web page. Yeah, cross button. When you click it, it stops, close the fireworks. Or you click anywhere on the web page, then it stops. Yeah, let's say. If that's, yeah, that could be the case. That's another good question. Like, how do you stop? How do you interrupt it? Good. You see now that's how you need to ask questions, because if I ask you, hey, Dinara, can you on your way to school, can you grab me a lunch? And then guess what? She brings some Chinese sushi or some food, and it has nuts in it, for example, yeah? Fried shrimp with some yeah, today that's what you bring, by the way. And it has, let's say, some Chinese food contains, with the rice, it contains the peanuts in it. And she brings peanuts, and I'm allergic to peanuts, right? Let's say, as an example. So when I ask her, she needs to ask me, oh, you know what? What kind of lunch you want? Yeah, right? See, we have to think like that, right? That's what we need, the backlog refinement meetings. Okay, we ask questions. Hey, like, okay, developer, let's say, asked all the questions that you guys just asked, for example. What about QA? Right? Now, as a developer asked all these questions, but then as a QA, I'm thinking, how am I going to test it? Right? Like, on, let's say I did my submission on a mobile website. Let's say they said we want 10 different fireworks from the bottom of the page show up and cover the entire page, right? But I'm thinking now, oh, I don't, let's say on the website I'm testing it, it's good, but what should it look like for a mobile? If they do 10 from the bottom, I want to ask that question, because I'm testing it, and on mobile, the firework, like the explosions are too big, let's see, and it could cover the entire page and you can't really see anything, right? So I have to ask this question. So as a quality engineer, I ask these kind of questions too, because I have to think from testing perspective. How am I going to test it? Right? Let's say on the web page it's working fine. But another thing is, they said another question, okay? Developer didn't ask. And now as a QA, I'm thinking, oh, they said until you click somewhere on the web page, it will keep throwing those fireworks, right? Or until I close it, it will keep throwing those fireworks, but from 10 different places. And let's say all those 10 different places they showed, the fireworks popped up. What happens after? Is it going to show the same colors starting from the same position, 10 different places again? Or this time it needs to change the colors, right? Should it be randomized, right? Like one time from the edge of the page it popped up, let's say, from the from this edge, and it was a red one, right? And next time, should the blue one popped up from this side, from here, from the middle? Like, should the colors change, or the same thing need to keep repeating? I know you might think like, really, come on, this is a cheap question, but hey, you never know. As a tester, I am the one who's gonna test it, right? I really like the question that Inja asked, the behind, like the main page. Should it dim? What does dim mean? Not bright, right? Like loses focus. Dim effect. A dim UI effect, also known as a dimmer, is a feature that reduces distraction and highlights specific content. So meaning dims the main page, but highlights the fireworks, right? Shifts the focus to fireworks. Let me see. MUI dimmer. Backdrop. You see the main content behind the scene? Look, it's dimmed, right? It's not bright anymore. And when this stops, or if I click anywhere, it stops, right? See, when I click this right now, it's bright. Click, it's dimmed, the whole page dimmed. And the focus is on this loading sign, right? Same thing, the whole web page needs to dim and fireworks need to be focused on. And when I click anywhere, it should close, let's say. So yeah, I think this was pretty good for what backlog refinement is, because they will ask this question 95% of the time. They will ask this question. As a quality engineer, what is your contribution during the sprint ceremonies or grooming meeting or backlog refinement? And we also, during backlog refinement, after discussing, we also need to do estimation, right? We call it story pointing or estimation. Estimation is like how long it's gonna take to deliver this. And most of the companies for requirement estimation or story pointing use Fibonacci numbers. I covered this, right? Okay. So in my company also at this here, we use see, story point estimation, none. Why? It's none. There's no estimation on this. No. Injay is saying the Scrum Master should define.
I think that's discussion between the
Yeah,
teams.
developers
So-
usually and the QA engineers refine. Because this is not in the sprint yet, it has not been refined yet, meaning it has not been through the sprint grooming yet. That's why this doesn't have any story points. Now, if you go to the current sprint stories, look, if I open this guy, it is in our current sprint. See, story point 8. Fibonacci numbers are 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13. It's the addition of previous two numbers. 1, 2, 3, right? 3 meaning 1 plus 2, and 2 plus 3 is 5. 5 plus 3 is 8. 8 plus 5 is 13. 13 plus 8 is 21. 21 plus 13 is 34. So that's how the Fibonacci numbers go. The addition of previous two numbers, okay? And if it's anything at Bank of America, also at this company, if the point is more than 13, usually that means it's too large for this current, or for one sprint, and we divide it into two different sprints. Make sense? Okay, now let me ask follow-up questions. Dinara, what is estimation? What is story pointing?
So story pointing is how large the story, user story.
Mm-hmm.
So during the grooming meeting, we should, at the end of grooming meeting, we should estimate this story.
Mm-hmm. Who estimates the stories?
So together with QA and developers.
Okay. What do you guys use for estimation? Like, how do you estimate your stories? Like, do you use t-shirt sizing or Fibonacci numbers or Fibonacci numbers? Okay. And what's the biggest number there can be for a story?
Up to 13.
Up
If
to
it's more
13?
than 13 means, I mean, if it's up
If
to
it's 13 and more, that means the max we can give for each sprint is 8. If it's 13, then we divide it into two different stories. Could be two 8-point stories or one 8-point, one 5-point story. But we divide it into two separate stories, right? And let's say the developer, this is a really interview question, by the way. Like, so many times they ask this question. The developer gives 3 points and you gave 5 points. What happens? Which one do you guys choose?
Of course, 5, because we will have.
Right. Okay. What do we do? So Injay is saying that developer will develop the.
Yeah, they will develop the program
Mhm.
and they will make their estimation how long it will take to
Develop this.
develop this program and ready to QA test. And we will take our estimation how long it will take to for us to test it.
Or how much effort
Yeah,
will it take to.
for us.
Yes. So now you gave 3 points. Developer gave you gave developer gave 3 points.
Yeah.
And you gave 8 points.
Yeah.
What happens usually after that? Which
I-
one will you take? Which one will see for this story they assigned 8,
Yeah.
but which one will they take?
If we couldn't make it in that sprint, we will tell Scrum Master and product owner, we need more time. We need one more sprint to finish it, and it will take 2 sprints for us. Yeah, we will do it.
Yeah, but you need to assign a story point.
Yeah.
You need to put some number there.
We still put the 8 points, I think.
Point doesn't have to be same. Yeah. What? No. No. So QA says it's 8 points for a story. Developer says it's only 3, right? Because it might be small code change for developer because there's already existing functional code. He's just gonna reuse the same code. And
If we need regression testing, we have to check.
regression is a separate story. We don't.
But we still need to check main functions end-to-end testing. Maybe we need more time than 3 points.
Exactly. That's what my point. I'm sorry.
And because the small code can be, interact with other features, with other like buttons.
Integrated, right?
Integrated,
Yeah.
So it would be huge for us to,
Really
in
good.
this short time test.
Really, really, really good, because it might be easy to develop, but for testing, there could be huge dependency for us where this functionality could be integrated with other components, other parts of the software. So it will take us longer to test it and more effort to test it, right? We need to come up with a huge data set, for example, maybe. And therefore it is, so when this kind of thing happens during the sprint grooming, where developer gives 3 points and QA gives 8 points, then usually whoever give more points will be asked a question by Scrum Master or product owner or business analyst. Why do you think it's 8 points? And then the QA will have to explain, hey, for development, it's a small, it might be easier to deliver, smaller change. But from a QA standpoint, I have to prepare this much test data, and I need to prepare the environment, and this is going to take this much effort. And it's since it is integrated with many other components, there are dependencies. So therefore, it's going to take longer time, much more effort for me to test it. And if you are able to convince them, then they will pick and put 8 points to the story. Or they might take average. You know what? Since QA is saying 8, developers saying 3, how about we take 5?
Yeah, I will agree. I'll try to my best to make it work in that sprint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If the worst case, it will go to next
Yeah,
sprint.
yeah.
And follow-up question, they might ask, how do you prioritize your tasks? Let's say sprint is coming to an end, and some developers, let's say you were assigned 4 stories, right? And during the first week of the sprint, you wrote test cases for all these 4 stories, and each of them have at least 15 test cases. So you have 60 test cases to execute. And the first week finished, you prepared all your test cases, test data, everything is ready, but developer has not finished, and 4 of these stories are still pending. And the last day of the sprint is Thursday, and development delivered the stories on Wednesday in the afternoon. And tomorrow you're closing the sprint.
So during that time, if it takes a long time, any longer than I expected, I will write to development team, hey, it's taking a long time. We are not gonna make on time. If you deliver it as soon as possible, we will write them note and we will let the know Scrum Master or product owner. It will take another sprint for us because of the development is taking long time.
Yes,
We will
and
just-
this happens at Bank of America every sprint. Has 2-3 months. Every sprint they have this issue.
Mm.
And then what we did is we thought we're taking or we're committing to too many story points. Like at the end, what we do is after we point the stories, at the end we take the count of how many stories we committed to. Committed to means, huh?
Oh,
we deliver it,
tickets?
yeah.
No,
Or
we
try to-
committed this. In this sprint, we committed to 20
Please.
stories.
20 stars.
Yes, yes, we assigned ourselves. We added 20 stories and we committed, means we have to finish it in this sprint, right? Let's say, and each, let's say 20 stories, right? 20 requirements we committed to deliver during the sprint. And each of them have 8 points. That means 160 points total, right? What we did is we take the estimation of story points too. Hey, this sprint, this is called capacity calculator. Each sprint, we take a look at the agenda, and after the sprint grooming, we look at the numbers, how many story points we committed to the sprint. And each sprint, we were delivering like 170, 160 stories, okay? So average was 165. And because of these delays, every sprint, because it's being delivered, the developer brings the story ready for testing on the last day of the sprint. Every single sprint, as a QA, I was not able to test all of them. So we kept moving them to the next sprint. And it's called carryover. Carry over, right? Bring it over to the next sprint. Push it over, perineously. Perineously, yeah. So each sprint we were carrying over stories to next sprint. And now that means in 3 months, you only delivered, if you really look at it, delivered like so many stories that most of them got carried over. And it was not a good report of delivery for the sprints. So what we decided to do as a team is bring down the number of stories that we commit to each sprint. From 165, we said, okay, let's bring it down to 150 stories. That still didn't do it. We bring it down to 120 story points. And we start seeing the same problems again and again. So that means some developers were only getting assigned 1 or 2 stories each sprint. And they have been there for 20 years. And that problem still exists. And this is real work environment. What to do, I don't know. So we have taken so many measurements, and so why the sprint retrospectives are there is we discuss these kind of topics during sprint retrospective, but without pointing fingers. Pointing finger means
Don't tell any
because I
special
fight
people.
them, no? Whose fault is it? We shouldn't, and Americans use this a lot, and during interview, you have to use this word during interview. Yeah. So let's say they ask this question, someone in your team is not performing good, not doing their job enough, right? How do you I know some of us are not doing our jobs enough here, and I'm not pointing fingers. Mahachi, you're not doing enough. This is not professional in real work. We don't point fingers. We don't, you know. So they asked this. This is a real interview question. So many times they have been asking this question. If someone is not doing enough job, good job, how do you communicate this, or what do you do? What steps do you take?
Didn't, like,
During
it went.
retrospective meetings, you were saying what?
So we are telling why it went like not good or not like as expected. And yeah, so in person we can also tell them, right, to the manager, QA manager,
Yeah, you can.
in person.
Yes.
Yeah, but
In
during
person,
the
meaning,
meeting
like,
we're
if you're working online, you can have one-on-one meeting
Yeah.
with your QA manager.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but during the meeting, we're kindly saying that was fault of in our team, right?
What do you mean?
I mean, that we couldn't contribute, that one of us or something like that without pointing, as you mentioned, right?
Without pointing
yeah.
fingers, yes, you can communicate.
And like kindly mentioned about it.
So that would be really good. Or as Inja mentioned earlier, let's say, you can talk to the, I think you said, bring it up with the development manager, development team. Hey, why the story is not being, why is it not ready yet,
Yeah,
or something,
yeah.
right? So you could, like, this is work, and nobody's trying to block anyone. Nobody's trying to pinpoint anyone. Everybody's just trying to, in real work, we're just trying to make money so we can actually pay our bills, right? And everybody's tired. Everybody has so many problems. Every single person has problems, right? And other people don't know what's going on in your life. And the last thing you can do is create a toxic environment at work. Yeah. So in order to avoid that toxic environment to happen, you have to stay professional with the other team members. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna professionally approach this matter. And for example, Charles, yeah, the developer's name. Hey, Charles, I see this story, or the user story is still in review, or it's still in development. And I know we're approaching to the second week of the sprint. I just wanted to get some updates, And if you're in person, you can always, hey, how are you? Like chit chat, ask what's going on. Try to look at things from, maybe that person is going through some really tough times in her or his family, right? And or really huge financial problems, maybe, or just he or she lost someone really close to him or her recently. Like, there could be anything going on. So we have to try to stay professional, but at the same time, without like just sticking to that story. I mean, from leadership perspective, this is how you should be talking. But during interview, yeah, without finger pointing or pinpointing to a person, right? I try to bring this up during our retrospective meetings, that we are under delivering, not over delivering, not delivering what we have. We're under delivering. We're not able to deliver what we have committed to. And you don't have to necessarily mention anyone's name. I think this is what we need to improve. What went bad, what went well, and what could be improved. So you could put it under what went bad. You can say, hey, during the sprint, there were a lot of stories which were delivered late. And because of those reasons, I, as a QA engineer, had to work overtime. I'm not complaining, but if this keeps happening, it might affect my, work efficiency, productivity. So I would like to make sure that the stories are delivered on time. Now, of course, people who didn't deliver, they will know, but you're not saying anyone's name. There could be like 30 people in your team, and which we had at Bank of America, like 30 some or 27 people. I don't even know like half of them. Even my team, I don't know half of them. I just know like 6, 7 people. The rest I don't know, because everybody's working on different projects, but we're under the same Scrum team. So yeah, and where did we get to this? From story pointing to what happens if developer gives this and you give that many story points, and how do you guys decide, right? Good. I think this was a lot of coverage, but these are from real interview questions. Have you had this question before? Huh?
For the Gulina, so it was like basic call from recruiter, and he asked about the whole Agile Scrum.
Excuse me, could you talk a little bit louder?
Yeah, sure. I'm so sorry. So the recruiter asked about the ceremonies and how it looks like and what we are doing usually. And so yeah.
Okay, yeah, we went over the sprint grooming, and from now on, Dinara, since you are in the market, you will get asked these kind of questions a lot, especially the managers. Aziz, he had interview with the QA director or someone today, and he was asked like, how do you contribute? Like, and also one of the questions was, are you in a lead position, right? But in the beginning of the interview, he was saying, we need a lead, automation lead or quality assurance lead to join this team. There will be like 4 or 5 other quality engineers, but we want someone to lead the automation process for this. And don't be hesitant on this. Say yes. Yeah, my most favorite, remember I showed it before, quote, Richard Branson quote about chance. Yeah, I love this. Yeah, this is the best quote, if somebody offers you an amazing opportunity but you are not sure you can do it, just say yes, then learn how to do it later. And another quote, yes, yeah, fake it until you make it. Pretend to be somebody until that somebody turns into you, or until you become that somebody. And even Trump said this recently. All of us had to fake it at some point in our life until we made it. It's okay. Fake it until you make it. Yes. Stay what?
To make sure that we can say we already worked on the
Yeah, just Mm-hmm. Correct.
I have a question.
Yes.
You asked, they asked, are you in a lead, are you able to lead? Yeah.
Yes.
I can't answer no, but I don't want to answer
Yes.
confidently yes. So what will be the better way to answer them?
Yeah. So I think you guys heard Inja's question here, right?
Or
Online?
Yes.
No, it's okay. Okay. So basically, she doesn't want to commit 100% confident in saying yes, but at the same time, she doesn't want to say no because she doesn't want to miss this opportunity. So for this question, like I have had this exact interview question for with this current company. I think I shared the recording. I was sitting in this room right here. Yeah. They wanted someone who can come in, like someone who can lead the quality process. And I said, well, I was never a lead, QA lead or a QA manager in my past experiences, but I think given my experience of 8 years in this field, working on both automation and the manual side of the testing or quality assurance, I'm very ready to take on this challenge. However, I have experience mentoring other junior engineers to automation or quality assurance process, right? Especially at my previous company, you can say we had interns, practicante, yeah? Interns, and they were basically studying software engineering at the college, but we hired them and they joined our team as a QA to help us out. So what I was doing is that I was helping this the intern to contribute to our testing by writing test cases. I was mentoring on how to write test cases. I was mentoring this person on how to automate the test cases. And another thing they will ask, okay, what do you think the best way to train others? Like do you have this experience in the past? Yeah. And yes, I have experience in the past, but here's most of the problem with answering to this question. Say, yeah, I like training other people, and the best words that I use, you guys need to use this too during interview if you want to. How do you mentor others? What do you mentor them on? Well, basically, I train them on best practices. What is best practices? Best practices can be anything. Quality assurance process has best practices, meaning over years of experience, you've gained some expertise and you found ways to make the process more efficient, to follow some kind of flow process, and there's a process to do things. So in quality, we write test cases, and writing test cases, you don't just write test cases. It also has best practices, meaning structure. It needs to have a proper title. It needs to have proper description. It needs to have clear steps. Clear steps is very important to mention. Clear, the specific word clear during interview, it's very important. I was basically training the other engineers into best practices on how to write test cases, for example, making sure the test title is super clear. And we also need to add which story does it belong to in the title, have a good description, specifically on what exactly we're trying to test, and then clear steps, and then expected and actual results, right? And which story it's related to, it needs to be linked. So all of these are best practices, like required practices. And the intern, the practicant we hired, doesn't know that, right? So I was teaching him or her. But the best part is you have a really wide room here, What's the best way? How do you mentor others? Hey, I help others or guide them or train them on best practices. Industry standards. There's a word called industry standards. A lot of IT people use this word. What is industry standards? Industry standards are trending technologies, one. Two, standards that has not been maybe documented, but it's good to follow rules. Yeah, industry standards is like latest technology, playwright is becoming very popular, let's say. All right, so I'm applying, I'm doing demos, I'm documenting the playwright automation tool, right? Introducing it for the new upcoming project, creating proof of concept documentation, POC, proof of concept. What else? Mentoring others means you shouldn't be teaching them everything, right? Document it somewhere. So this is what I learned from IPO too. Just a second. Create documentation. Create documentation and make everybody go through this documentation and then have them ask you questions. I'm sitting and talk. I've been talking and talking, but most of the time, after some time, it gets really boring, you know? So what if you have a documentation? And here's another thing. Documentation I learned from my manager recently when I started creating documentation for this company, remember? Okay, quality assurance, learner pages, and dashboard. And these are the documentations that I was creating for this startup company. What should the test plan look like? What is the automation going forward? How are we going to onboard new tenants? What do we need to test for? So what I learned from my manager is like, hey, anyone can create documentation, but not everybody can create a good, clean documentation. Documentation doesn't necessarily have to be really complicated. Complicated means? Yeah, hard to understand, yeah? Especially like the US law. It's very hard to understand for a normal person. So, I mean, I don't blame them, but anyways, he's like, just make sure that your documentation is not to a point where people have hard time understanding. Make it on point, specific, and keep it simple. They call it KISS term. KISS. Keep it stupid simple. Yeah, meaning like keep it simple, you know?
People can understand, yeah?
Yeah, like,
Understand.
yeah, make sure like think of me as a 5-year-old and try to explain me what quality assurance is, basically. So what I mean by this is that document. Let's say you started mentoring one intern at your company to what quality assurance is, or what the quality assurance process, software testing life cycle is in your company. And you have, hey, we have 2-week sprints, and each of us get assigned different stories. And before this, we have to write the test cases, prepare the test cases. We use such and such test management tool, such as X-ray, right? And while the developers are working on their stories, we write our test cases, we prepare the test data, and once it's ready, then we execute test cases. If test case fail, then we create a bug. And for a bug, we have to have severity. We have to link it to the requirement. And we have to make sure that we assign it to the right developer. And we have to bring it up during the stand-up meetings. You see, I'm mentioning really, really important things. Let's say this intern joined on June 1st. After 1 month, this intern left. Another intern comes July 1st. and they're like, hey, this intern is gonna help us out with QA. So if you need any help, just help this make this person help you. And I'm like, this time, I'm repeating the same thing again. Hey, so this is how our software testing lifecycle works. We have 2-week sprints, and while developers working on this, blah, 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 same thing. After 1.5 months, in the middle of August, his college started. So this intern left again. But then they got another intern at the beginning of September. And I'm doing the same thing over and over. What do I do? What do you think, India? I'm repeating the same thing again and again to explain to each intern. Yeah, I'm losing so much time and I have so much work, but on top of that, I have to onboard, meaning bring this person up to speed. And this person is not gonna just, after I explained one time, that person is gonna understand. I have to do the same thing over and over again. So that I don't have to do this over and over again. What can I do?
Documentation.
Yes, create a documentation. And you have to mention this during interview. Hey, do you have experience with mentoring others? Yes, you know what? In fact, on one of my past projects, I had to take lead, or I had to take, I took an initiative on documenting the processes that we have into our Confluence page. Of course, we had some documentation, but that was outdated because the team changed and we changed the test management tool. Now we had added, for example, performance testing to our software testing lifecycle, which was not documented. And some really pinpoints, like the important points, were missing on our documentation. So I took initiative on working on the documentation, documenting our new way of software lifecycle, updating the test management tool that we are using, and how to actually create, or how to actually use that test management tool that we had customized it to for our needs. And like all this stuff, how to run the automated scripts, right? How is it integrated with our test management tool? So I took my time, I took initiative, and I documented them, because what had happened is that I was assigned to, guide the intern that we hired for the summer. But after a month, that intern left and we hired another intern, and I found myself repeating the same thing again. So what I did is, the best approach was to document it, make that intern or whoever the person joins our team go through the documentation. If they have outstanding questions, then they ask me. And when you answer like this, you have a good chance. All right, see you guys in 15 minutes. And after 15 minutes, it's you who will be talking, and I will sit and ask questions. Alrighty, now, as I said, iPod did a good job on documenting, so I don't have to, right? Otherwise, might have to repeat and repeat. So this is where where's the picture for the agile, like sprint something? Okay, yeah. Sprint PO creates epic and stories. Then we have grooming. QA lead creates a test plan, test strategy. QA check to test plan has shared with team and QA manager. And QA manager has approved the test plan. Sprint start, length of the development has to be 7 days. QA creates test cases and test scripts when sprint starts. Sprint day 7 development is done and code has deployed to QA environment. QA check 5. Verify unit test created with minimum 80% coverage. QA approves the PR. QA executes test case and test scripts and generates a report. Sign-off letter is created, including with detailed test report and shared with the team and stakeholders. Sign-off letter is created. I mentioned about sign-off. QA checklist done. End of sprint. UAT. UAT stands for user acceptance testing. Yes. Ooh. Yeah. This is. What is your approach to mentoring junior QA engineers? I provide guidance through regular feedback, sharing best practices, and involving them in complex testing scenarios to enhance their skills. Oh, what is the role of a QA engineer in a Scrum team? QA engineer in a Scrum team participates in sprint planning, conduct testing during the sprint, and collaborates with the team members to ensure quality. There was a question about, how do you handle a situation where a critical bug is found just before the release? Right, you're about to release the new product and they find a new critical bug. You found the new critical bug. So I assess the severity of the bug, communicate with stakeholders, and collaborate with the development team to determine if a fix can be implemented before release. So let's say there was a critical bug. Right before the release, during regression testing, you found a very critical bug. It's very important. What do you do? Let's say the developer said, oh, you know what? We have a quick fix for it. And they fixed it. What do you do after? Did you understand the question? 5 o'clock, wake up. You probably didn't understand the question. Yeah. Yeah.
Can I answer?
Yes.
I think as Aiko was explaining, I will do a smoke testing, end-to-end testing.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest I don't remember, but I remember she was telling that you can do smoke testing.
Okay, so make sure, first of all, you retest the bug.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure this bug is not occurring, that it has been resolved, right? The developer's new code or fix has addressed this bug. Secondly, you can run a smoke test, the quick smoke test. Thirdly, whatever the areas, you can run a targeted end-to-end regression testing. Targeted means what are the possible areas that could have been affected by this bug, right? So let's say if there was a fire in your kitchen, right? And you took care of the fire, it's no longer in the kitchen happening. And after that, to make sure your kitchen is working as expected, that fire doesn't happen, you just check inside the kitchen mainly, right? But inside the kitchen, you check everything. And also you check the fuse box where they control the electricity for your apartment or house, right? You don't go check in your kid's bedroom, make sure that the kitchen fire didn't cause any fire in the kitchen. Maybe if you're thinking oh, my kid's bedroom is right next to the kitchen. Maybe there was something you might check, but you're not going to check everywhere. You're not going to go inside the bathrooms and check if there was a fire or not, if this fire caused damage or not. You will check specifically around the kitchen, wherever, whatever is related to, whatever it is attached to, right? Making sure the devices in your kitchen work. So this is called targeted testing. You test the part where it could have been targeted. You don't test the entire. So, like when you find a critical bug and it's right before the release, you're like, what? Meaning like you're right about to release a new feature to the production and there was a critical bug, you stop the release. Hey, we cannot release because there's a bug. And now, trust me, you will have to report it to your manager, the QA lead, product owner, and dev lead, or whoever, development lead. They all have to be notified about this, right? And they probably will do some debug or troubleshoot sessions if they don't know what's causing it. The developers, if they might call you into the meeting also, hey, we're not able to create or reproduce this bug. I know you have created the reproduction steps. Could you help us create, like, what are some of the steps that you have taken, maybe preconditions? And you might have to join the team and show them what was causing it, how did you create this bug? And it's called troubleshoot meetings, or root cause analysis, finding the root cause, what is causing it, right? And at this point, everybody is aware of this. And then as a team, QA lead, or you may suggest to QA lead or QA manager saying, hey, this bug, I tested the other parts of the software, they're working, but just to make sure. And the development team, oh, okay, we found the root cause, we're gonna have a quick fix for it. We'll fix it. But what or who guarantees the fix is not gonna affect the other parts of the software, right? So that means you need to think really strategically here. As a QA team, you might have to, QA team member, you might have to talk to the QA lead or QA manager saying, hey, they addressed this bug, they fixed it, but I don't know what else could have been affected. Could we come up with a plan, like maybe targeted regression test to test only specifically that part of the software to make sure everything's okay, you know? So as a team, you might have to come up with it. But if you are the subject matter expert on that specific part of the software, then you can suggest a targeted regression plan. Targeted regression plan, it sounds wow, but it's not that wow. You just pick the test cases or pick the areas of the software where you might think this might be affected. Let me check to make sure this is working. And if you have automated test cases, then you just DevOps. Developers? Yeah.
Could affect you should check them. They could tell us, yeah.
Suggest. Yeah. I mean, if somebody's suggesting us something, we never say no, right? Especially like if it's I mean, obviously developers know the way software is working better than us, specifically if the developer has been involved on the software for a long time. They know where they consume data, how they process the data, what kind of aggregations they do to the data, and how do they render them in the UI. That means they have better knowledge than us when it comes to that software. And they might be willing to share with their experience or suggestions on what parts you might have to consider testing on your targeted regression testing, right? So yeah, that would really work best for us to have input from them. I was really hoping to make you guys talk and me just listen for this part of the where was the oh okay priority versus severity. I think that was a task, right? All right, let's start with online students. Ulan, give us your answer to
Yes,
priority
sir.
versus severity.
So, question is, what's severity and priority?
Yes, severity and priority. Difference.
Severity. Severity, it indicates how critical the issue is for the operation of the software. Priority is how for example, the bug or errors have to be fixed. How soon it should be fixed.
How soon? Okay.
Yes, and the severity is often determined by the tester or quality assurance engineer, and priority usually determined by the project manager or project owner or the development team, right?
Okay. Yes.
So there are the several levels of severity, like critical, high, medium, or low. At the same time, the priority has the several levels like high, medium, low priority.
Okay. Recently, there was this interview question, very recently, on Google search, right? If you go to Google search, what you do is you can search. It's a search engine. That means you can search for things, right? So I go to here, google.com, and I can search for things, right? So give me an example of high and low priority for Google search functionality. High and low priority. No, high and low severity.
High is input, search input, and low is top to the other like preferable. How can I say? Or like choice, right? Other choice.
Inja, different question to you is, give me an example of a bug for Google search functionality for low severity, but high priority.
Low severity, high priority. Okay. If it impact on main, if it's not impacting on main functions, it will count as a low severity. For example, if there is a maybe in this Google page there is have a help button, a help menu, something like that. When you press on help button, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't affect our main functions, or you still can find what you search, but in the help button it didn't work. It has a low severity, but as a customer, you want to search you want to take some help from them, but their help button is not working. Oh, I think, oh, it's not a good page or not good application. They're doing not good job. Maybe I think you could lose some customer. That's
really good. Wow, impressive. It's a priority is high. We have to fix it.
Yeah, but we
But-
have to fix it.
Yes,
But
as soon as possible.
Yeah, but severity is not so high. But a customer will think, I don't think it's the legit page or legit searching. It's even its help is not working. I think I should think maybe I assume some opinion in that. Yeah, you could lose some customers from
Okay,
this.
really good. Very good. Gulkhair,
Yes.
um, can you give me an example for the same? For example, high severity. No, low severity,
Mm-hmm.
but high priority for money transfer using Zelle.
Okay. Sorry for the background noise. There is a heating, but that's why. For the using Zelle, let's say it takes time. From the when I want to transfer money for someone, and or the one we had, I think, with you, the issue it can be also example when I couldn't send the whole money. Let's say, how to explain? Okay, let's say the timing maybe it would take time, like the loading of the transfer. It's not affecting the functionality of the application itself, but for me as India told, as a customer, it will be disappointing. And from the perspective of the business, it may be affecting the business itself because the customers will not be satisfied as a goal. As a process of the transfer took some time.
Good. Very good. Thank you.
Mhm.
What could be an example of high severity and low priority bug for Google search? Let's see. An example of high severity that it's affecting the business, but low priority. We can address later, right? Like we can address it not right away as soon as possible, no. When searching for a specific rarely used query, like a very obscure or long string, the search results page crashes or displays a blank page. Let's say you are searching for really long string, like show me the coldest times in Arctic, also in Alaska, and show them using both Celsius and Fahrenheit. And I want to also learn them in Kelvin temperature, but then make sure that Alaska's north part includes only 3 cities. You are searching for it on Google search. And while processing it, it just doesn't return anything, or it crashes the page, or page just goes to blank page, white page. So that's, I think, really good example, right? It is very severe, meaning it's crashing your website. The main purpose of Google, it's a search engine. You search for things and it should give you result. It's crashing. But it's only when searched for that very specific query. But when you search for random things like the weather for tomorrow, the money currency between US dollars and Brazilian dollars, or latest news, latest breaking news. Like, it works. You search for the car prices, it works, but only when you search for specific something like that, it crashes. So the severity is high because it directly impacts the functionality, the main feature of Google search engine, right? Resulting in a broken user experience. Priority low because it only affects a very small subset of users who are searching for extremely uncommon, not very necessary, not usually searched queries that are not likely to occur frequently in normal usage. So high severity is, as Ulan mentioned, the issue disrupts the core functionality of Google, any application like Google search, by preventing users from accessing search results. Low priority, since the issue only happens with obscure queries, unnormal queries, you can say, uncommon, right? That very few users are likely to enter, maybe. So it's like, how many people usually travel to Arctic? Or how many people usually travel to Alaska, right? Very small portion, maybe 1% of the United States or tourists. So yeah, low priority, the low severity and high priority bug example for Zelle money transfer. Boom. I love ChatGPT, yeah. The transaction success confirmation message displays a typo, such as look, instead of transaction, it's C is here. Yeah. Complete. And there's a typo. It has to be transaction complete. There's a typo. It's a low, severity is low, right? Because the typo doesn't affect the main feature or the functionality of being able to transfer money. And the transaction is still working correctly. Priority is high because Zelle is a financial service where many people trust its quality. And the last thing you want to see is the typo, right? I mean, come on, it's Zelle. Millions and if not billions of dollars are getting transferred every day. How can you let that small bug out there for the customer's experience, right? But it's a low priority. I mean, a high priority, but severity is low. The impact on the actual feature is very low. Low severity, this bug doesn't prevent users from being able to transfer money and complete the transactions. So the core functionality of the Zelle transfer is still working as expected, but priority is very high because of Zelle deals with users' money. Any issue that might reduce customer confidence or trust in the platform needs to be fixed quickly, even if it's a very minor text typo or error. Yeah. And these are very good questions during interview, this one was asked recently. Give me high severity, but low priority bug. It's tricky, right? Severity, as soon as you hear severity, think right away about the main core. Core means in Russian.
Основной.
Основной, yeah. Основа, основной, right? Главное, важное. I'm trying to fix my Russian, yeah? Ядра, суть. Yeah. Oh, I need to get rid of this recording. Okay. Very high severity, low priority bug for Google search. This was asked by QA manager during interview. Good. Another question. Where did it go? Okay. Okay. This is a really good question. And I see this question is also asked a lot. How do you ensure test coverage? Like, how do you know that you have covered enough? You follow you said traceability matrix.
Yeah.
Requirement traceability matrix, right? What is requirement traceability matrix?
It's for simple, it will list of what you need to do in this project or maybe in the sprint.
What you need to do?
Yeah,
So it's a
list of
checklist?
checklist, something like that. Yeah,
Okay.
and once you did it,
Checked.
check.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's the traceability matrix.
Okay.
Requirement traceability matrix.
Okay. Any objections? Any objections?
It's like Excel
Now-
sheet, right?
Yeah. Now, Inge, let's look into what's requirement traceability matrix. ChatGPT or whatever you want to use. What is requirement traceability matrix?
But how can I read it from interview questions? I'm right on that page.
Interview questions where?
Yeah, you sent it on ChatGPT. You remember, and we have that question.
Really?
Yes, a requirement traceability matrix. RTM is
Oh.
used to make sure that all test cases cover the requirement or not. It's like Excel sheet. That's the answer.
Okay. Let's see. What is it, Inge? A typical requirement traceability matrix will include the following column. So requirement ID, requirement description, the source, test case ID. Okay. Can you scroll down to the table? Yeah. More on the table. So it says requirement ID, requirement 1, user login feature, password reset. So the client, test case 001, test user login with valid credentials, test case passed, design. Okay. How do you ensure test coverage? Okay. And the one that you had was from ChatGPT, you said, Elnura, the answer?
No, it's from the file you send it for interview prep.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay.
It's on
So,
Slack.
yeah. Now, let me ask you this, right? This is gonna be more of a logical question to everyone. You can leave this one. Let's say, what did we try to test last time? Remember?
Bank transaction.
Transaction, yeah. Okay. So for a transaction, instead of transaction now on Zelle, for example, have you used Zelle application? You use Zelle? Yeah? India, you use Zelle? Who doesn't use Zelle? So I think we understand what Zelle does, right? So on Zelle, we can transfer money, send it to other people. So we need to test the functionality on a Zelle where we can search for users by their email address or phone number. Or, yeah, just these two. Let's limit, okay? I can search and add them to my Zelle contact list. How do you come up with ways to test it, first of all? One test case each. Let's start with Elnura.
So you are asking, can you repeat it again, please?
Yeah, so you go to your Zelle application or your bank application and you go to the Zelle part. Now, you need to be able to search for users. I'm saying, hey, Nura, can you send money to payment at techstate.us? And you need to search for it, right? Before you can you are able to send it. Or send the money to this phone number, blah, blah, blah. For example, 123 123 1234. This is the phone number where you have to send the money to. But before you send it, you have to search for it. But after you search for it, once you find it, first of all, you have to add me to your contact list. Correct? How would you test it? Give me one test case. What would you test?
Test case. Test. You mean the test scenario?
Yeah.
Or so. Just a second. I would test for on the user interface for search. Search. When I click or when I write, I cannot tell it properly. I mean, in the way it. So I would check. I'm sorry, I can't explain it, but I know. I mean, I got the question.
It's a registered user uses email or phone number. So all I'm asking is, give me one test case. Like you can say, I would search for a valid email. Right?
Search for valid email?
Yeah.
Okay.
Search for user with valid email. Okay. Second. One.
Let's do the negative, like invalid mail or phone number.
Okay. Invalid email. Jolchu. Khair.
Yeah, for example, when we add a user, it updates that it has been added to your list. It should show a message.
Yes, sir. I missed. Yeah, I passed.
Okay. A test case from you, Jolchu.
Test case. Testing feature.
For being able to add a user to your Zelle account.
I don't have ideas.
It's
Excuse
okay.
me.
That's okay. Who else we have online? Ulan, you already. Aidana?
Yes. I was thinking like searching for users, like in case if the network is like interrupted or something.
Hmm.
Satellite, maybe.
No, like Zell is working with the Wi-Fi, right? Not Wi-Fi, but this
Yes.
internet. So in case the network or this Wi-Fi is interrupted, so the
Disconnected. Yeah, internet is disconnected.
like that.
Hmm.
How we gonna will we find the email or phone number?
Okay. Yes. So the Wi-Fi is down, but the phone data should work, right?
Yeah.
Yep. That's another good scenario. Okay. Thank you. Who else we have online? I think that's it, right? Now on site, we start with Inje.
Huh?
You have the microphone. Go ahead and start, please. What would you test with?
We try to make transfer insufficient with the insufficient fund.
No,
Insufficient
no
fund.
transfer yet. Just searching and adding the users to your contact list
Oh, okay.
on Zelle. No transferring yet.
You try to search user from phone number.
Yep.
Yeah.
Somebody mentioned that. No? No.
No.
Good. Good. Very good. Yes. Thank you.
And name must contain only letters and it need to be exactly name, not like my kitty or like honey.
Only email or phone number? Email or phone number? Good. Search with search number validation. But what if it's international phone? Right? Yep. Test with for example, with special characters on phone number, right? Such as what if the phone number is like this, right? Or there could be this. Right? They could put +1. Different formats of their phone number with a plus, or what if they have the oops, especially Essenger countries, right? 996 777 727787. Yep. Good, good. Search for a user already added. Try to add a user, right? Already added to your contact list. Okay, what else? Searching from your phone contacts. Yeah? Searching from your phone contacts list. And I said being able to add users to my Zelle account and
Also, you should see when you enter invalid email or at least
Hmm.
you should see there is no such a personal contact number.
If the test for unregistered user, right? If the user has not registered the phone number nor email, then when you search for this person should not be found. But how do we want, let's say, when you search for that, send an invite. You have an option, send an invite, right? Maybe that should appear. Okay. Anything else? Let's say these are the test cases. I think these are good amount of test cases for us to be able to, search for a contact like a user so that I can send money to Zelle account after being able to search and adding them to my contact list. So let's say I have come up with these test cases, but if you noticed, I would probably come up with like maybe this many test cases. And these two maybe I would miss probably. Or at least I would miss 2, 3 different scenarios in the real work, let's say.
Excuse me.
Let's say you have written the test cases, yeah, for this. And this is where we have the question of how do you ensure the coverage of your testing is enough or not? I have come up with test cases. Now, I tested it and I said, I tested. But then this one doesn't work, let's say. So in order to make sure that we have covered all possible scenarios, this is specifically how do you ensure the test coverage. So one of the ways is by creating requirement traceability matrix. It's a generic term for what, I mean, it will help us tracking the items. But most importantly, one of the best practices to make sure that you have a good coverage of test cases. As you saw, I asked come up with a test case from each and every one of you, and everyone came up with different scenarios, right? So peer review process. What does peer review process mean? When others in your team review your work and provide feedback. Okay, peer review. Like you create a test case. At Bank of America, one of the teams, not our team, one of the teams, they implemented this in a real scenario. Usually, they don't really have this in real work environments, but this time they really implemented this for one of the team, where they review each other's test cases and they provide feedback if needed. So this is a really, really good process of it's called peer review process. We review each other's test cases and we approve, or we provide comment or feedback, or we don't approve, basically. this is one of the best ways to ensure that you have a good coverage. You see, like we all came up with test cases, and some test cases were really interesting and they were really good, right? Because everyone has a different point of view or perspective to things. From different angles, we try to look. Some people have really good creative edge case thinking, creative thinking. Some people pay really good attention to the details, right? Good. So this would be a peer review process is one of the really good ways to ensure the test coverage. Another one that was mentioned here, regular reviews of test cases to ensure all functionalities are adequately covered, code coverage tools. Yeah, follow or create a checklist method, which could be like you can come up with your own way. Make sure at least two positive, two positive and two negative test cases created. Make sure test cases have been reviewed by other peers and commented if approved. Make sure each test case is linked to the requirement. So this would be, I just came up with it, right? If you say this during interview, hey, we have, how do I ensure the test coverage? We have some process. First process is peer review process. After we have created test cases, we review each other's test case amongst the QA team, the other engineers. We review each other's work, and if all looks good, we provide a comment approved. If not, then we provide a comment mentioning what's missing or what could be added, what he or she didn't create a test case for, right? And another best practice we have is we have a checklist created that each test case should or must include at least two positive and two negative test cases, but not limited to, right? And another checklist point is that we make sure the test case have been reviewed by others, which is the point number one. And another one in the checklist is to make sure that each test case that has been created is linked to the specific user story or the requirement. I think this would be good. Yes, Yolchu, you had a question? Hey,
Yes, it might be not so important. I just want to mention about the devices. On about the test case. Meaning, should it work on Symbian or on which models of cell phones? Or I mean this. On which generation of Symbian or of
devices work? Okay.
Should work.
Yeah. Adding and being able to search for users, yes, but that would be more of a very generic test for device cross device testing for the entire application, not specifically for searching, I would say, right? Maybe.
Okay, I got you. Thank you.
Yeah, but also good scenario, obviously mainly for the application compatibility testing. One other thing is how do you prioritize your tasks in last minute? And there was a really good yes about failing today test case automation not this is automation specific. Okay. Well, this will be a homework. How do you prioritize your test cases? How do you prioritize your tasks on a tight deadline as a QA engineer? So this is one of the most commonly asked questions during interviews. How do you prioritize your tasks on a tight deadline as a quality assurance engineer? Any questions? This is it for today.
I have a question, Baka.
Yes.
So you asked how we can ensure the test case completed or covered. So yes, my question is any tool which can provide us report or can count test cases covered or not?
Yeah, so X-ray or at Bank of America, we were using Q-test, right? And when you write the test, you actually write the test cases with the actual test steps. Have you guys written them on X-ray one?
X-ray, I heard something X-ray, but I don't remember.
Okay, so you write test cases on X-ray, and each test case that you write will be linked to the user story on Jira. And when you go to the story on Jira, when you click on it, you can see all the linked test cases, correct?
Yeah.
Yes, that's how you can ensure how many test cases you have for each story. And now this is where the requirement traceability matrix will help. With the requirement traceability matrix, you can create a list of, on an Excel sheet, maybe, right? You can create a list of, here, let me show you, for example, on the ChatGPT earlier, Inge showed requirement traceability Ability matrix example for test case coverage. Something like this. See, you can, it will create, you can create this kind of Excel sheet. Yeah, we all know Excel, right? Microsoft Excel sheet or Google Excel sheets. Right? Nope. Not workspace. I just want to. Oh, Google Sheets, I mean. There we go. Oh, really? Just open a regular Google Sheets, man.
Can go there.
Actually, Baha, the last time our home assignment was a transaction, reform transaction. Do you remember? And
Yeah.
we did this kind of Excel sheet for test case.
Yes. Oh, yeah, perfect. For example, right? So you can create
Yes.
an Excel sheet here, and this is an Excel sheet. Just want to show some things I have to be super detailed. And for example, this is called requirement traceability matrix. It's an example for it. So each requirement, let's say this is the user story ID. So here we have LA2444. This is the user story ID. So that could go right here, yeah? And then how many test cases I written? For example, 1, 2, right? Test case number 1, test case number 2. And this one is verify user can log in with valid credentials, verify error message for invalid password. And let's say for this one, we came up with how many test cases? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 test cases, 10 different test scenarios we came up with, right? So what would it look like is for the requirement, let's say LA2444, this guy here, we would write the requirement ID and the requirement name description, right? Let's say users being able to search accounts by their phone number or email and be able to add them to the contact list. That's the description of the story. And then test case number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, let's say. There would be 10 different test cases just for that story. And all of the test cases would have titles, right? As you can see, test case description or test case title would say, hey, verify that user, search for a user with valid email, search with invalid email, test success message after successfully adding the user. Like each of these would have their own test cases, right? In the requirement traceability matrix. And the status, passed, failed, passed, 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 for example. If failed, maybe create another column here, reported bug ID or bug, and then you could have the bug name here and the link, because each bug will have ID also. The ID for that bug, for example, can be linked here. So this would also definitely help, as Ulan was asking, how do I know how many test cases I have created for the story, specific story? Well, you could always look into this requirement traceability matrix, number 1. Number 2, you could always go back to each story and check the linked test cases to it. Number 3, have somebody else review your test cases, right? So these are ways that we can ensure means
Убедиться.
уверяться, убедиться,
Make sure.
Yeah. Ensure, yeah, that's ensure of the test coverage. Yes. How do you ensure that you have covered everything, every possible scenario that you can come up with, right? Only then you can say, hey, I have covered enough test cases for the story, enough scenarios for the story, for this feature, that it should work properly when the customers start using it. Any other questions? All right.